While Obi-Wan's ship is taking a beating, suddenly one of the craft firing upon him is destroyed, and the others then flee back to the capital. Obi-Wan asks where that shot came from, and QB identifies it came from a mountain some distance from the capital. And given the state of his ship, he veers in that direction thinking that they must be on his side. He lands the smoking ship in a rocky cleft. And once his ship lands, he steps out onto the sandy ground. An officer emerges from a door carved out of the cliff with a couple guards with him. Obi-Wan greets them and asks what sort of trouble they are having here. They speak together, with Obi-Wan attempting to get some information from them, but they haven't any real idea either. But they have remained unbothered because they have control of the defensive gun there. Unfortunately, it was designed with bigger craft in mind, but they still have two other defensive batteries intact. Obi-Wan asks if there aren't any other forces, but they reply that the other defense station was destroyed, and that they are the only ones left. He asks why they don't mount a counterattack, but all their fighters are gone, and they have been unable to get any messages out. Obi-Wan asks them why anyone would wish to attack Naboo like this. But they say it appears to be marauders, but they are as much in the dark as he is. But they have set up a means to break through the cordon to get them supplies, and when one gets through and back they collect some news of the circumstances there. But the population in the Citadel is large, and they can only get a ship in every so often, and are losing pilots and ships all the time. Obi-Wan asks them if it's possible to send an interstellar communication from here, but they say they don't have the equipment, and their local tower was blown away in the first assault. Obi-Wan asks if he couldn't possibly travel to the Citadel, and they warn him that it is dangerous. But says that he could go with one of their pilots, Croc Cloudman, but when they go out he is unavailable. But there is a young man working and making repairs to a cruiser. He has made several successful trips to the Citadel, and this is Obi-Wan's only choice right now. He greets the young local, who is introduced to him as Anakin, and Anakin greets him and shakes his hand, saying that he is Anakin Skywalker. Anakin takes Obi-Wan up on the ridge to get a view of the Citadel. He asks if he lived in the Citadel, but he tells him no, that he and his mother live in the mountains. He asks if he can send a transmission to the Citadel, and he says they can. Once they are inside of it they can transmit a tight beam signal. They descend again and Anakin says he will take B Prime, telling the officer it is all ready to go, and invites Obi-Wan to climb aboard. They go into the cockpit, which shows signs of wear and damage inside. Anakin brings the engines up, humming to life, telling him that he has worked on it a bit since the last trip. He says he has made more trips than anyone still around, that is, since he's good at avoiding the fighters. He tells the Jedi to strap himself in. The ship is trundled out into the clearing, tips back, and launches into the sky. A small and fleet ship. Once they are clear of the ridge, Anakin tells him he can now make his transmission to the Citadel, then dives the ship down above the treetops, even clipping a few. He shows great agility and forethought, but, as a couple of the fighters alter course to pursue him, Anakin dives down into the forest, flying between the tree trunks. Obi-Wan is getting jostled around on a trip that is throwing him worse than a ride on a roller coaster. Through a window high above in the Citadel, a handmaiden of the Queen of Naboo is there watching the craft flying. She then leaves to go meet them. The invading fighters attempt to take shots at their ship when he has to climb up out of the forest for a moment, as Obi-Wan merely feels himself being tossed to and fro, with Anakin making split-second corrections. And then tells him to hold on and climbs steeply beneath the Citadel and quickly maneuvers his ship into a docking bay. Obi-Wan is entirely battered, crumpled in his chair and feeling sorry and injured. But Anakin tells him he told him he could do it, unlocks his belt, jumps up, and opens the loading ramp. Obi-Wan extracts himself from the chair with great care, and then makes his way out, staggering down the ramp. At the bottom they are greeted by a collection of personnel who proceed to unload the supply boxes from the hold. They then move in a loader and remove the containers, as Anakin helps. He asks if he'll be okay, but Obi-Wan then asks if he wouldn't mind remaining there for a while. They are then approached by one of the Queen's handmaidens. When she meets them she has a protocol droid with her, carrying a bag. She introduces herself as Padme, and says she is there to take him to the Queen. and Anakin asks if all handmaidens of the Queen require a bodyguard. She laughs and asks, haven't you ever seen a protocol droid before? He replies no, but he knows a ruse when he sees one, and Obi-Wan tells Anakin not to be rude. As they walk, Obi-Wan tells her they need to make a communication as soon as possible. Anakin asks her what's in the bag, and she replies that they're important tools of the trade. He asks what trade that might be, and she says he's full of questions. Obi-Wan says simply, Anakin. Obi-Wan then asks her if they walk everywhere, and she replies that walking is good for the heart. And Anakin asks if flirting is also good for the heart. She turns upon him expressing mild derision, scolding him for his boldness. Obi-Wan pulls his arm and reminds him to behave himself, but Anakin says something strange is going on here. And Obi-Wan tells him to admit when he is wrong, and Anakin says he's never wrong. Obi-Wan asks him to please show some humility in the presence of the Queen. They are announced, and go in to speak to her, and Anakin says he's never met the Queen face to face before. They go in, and there is the Queen seated on her throne with 2 Federation battle droids to each side of her. The Queen thanks Anakin and for risking his life. He says he acts only for the sake of his Queen and people. Obi-Wan tells the Queen he seeks to make a communication with the Republic, but likewise indicates that action needs to be taken, because there's no telling when an invasion might come. And she says she will have a discussion with the committee. He is concerned about her inability to come to an immediate decision, and questions, with respect, her resolve. Then they hear a voice, that she is the real Queen, and the handmaiden, Padme, steps forward from among the other handmaidens, saying that she is Queen Amidala, and this was done as a security measure to protect the life of the Queen. Obi-Wan then addresses her, that if they are being attacked they must get a signal out before the invaders realize that he has placed another relay satellite into orbit. She says they will go at once, and that they ought to get a message out to the Trade Federation, who could arrive much sooner, and with greater forces. Obi-Wan asks her if she's sure she's the genuine Queen, and she says she's sure she is. They have the Queen stand on a dais and record her appeal, then send it to the Trade Federation. But she asks them not to reply, as this would be picked up by the invaders as well. So then after it is sent they have to wait, and walk to a waiting room to speak with the Queen. Anakin tells her he hadn't realized that she was a queen, she was young and pretty. She smiles, and asks if he thinks all queens are old and ugly, and he has no answer, so she tells him that she much appreciates his efforts, and touches his hand. She expresses to them her wishes, that things be returned to the way they had been before for them, no longer harassed by threats of war and want. Her people are not used to such misery, but they are facing it bravely. Then they get word that Trade Federation ships have arrived, and a large cruiser makes its appearance in the sky. Obi-Wan thinks that they came especially fast, but the Queen tells them that any ship in the immediate vicinity will respond to an emergency call. The Federation craft flies down and the invader craft take a few shots at them and then flee. Then a craft from the Federation ship arrives in the docking bay and representatives from the Federation step out, and out of the ship also come numbers of their battle droids. Obi-Wan and Anakin along with Padme are pleased to see the Federation arrival has driven away the marauders, and then Obi-Wan says he will escort her back to the courtroom. The 3 of them go away cheerfully, and approach the Queen's door. They go past the guard droids and down the hallway approach. There the substitute Queen is surrounded by her 2 guard droids. One of the Federation men presses a button on a unit, and the battle droids turn on the fake Queen, and shoot her dead. Padme cries out no, and the Federation men turn and look at the 3 of them standing there, as the battle droids turn in their direction.